Welcome to Politics South. Coming up on today's show, the price of heating oil has surged as a result of the conflict in the Gulf. What's the government going to do to help out hard-pressed families? The cost of parking in our towns and cities is a perennial hot topic. Are councils using it as a not-so-hidden revenue raiser? We all know the problems of getting a dentist on the NHS. New research suggests that a third of us are having to pay for expensive private treatment.
Last time it was about £4,000 for teeth removal and fill-ins and a couple of false teeth.
And why is this still a muddy field a decade after being proposed as a new garden village, but others elsewhere are welcoming their first residents?
They have an opportunity to do something quite extraordinary there that can really set the course for the future of this country. And Oxfordshire, in my opinion, should be leading the way in this.
All that just coming up. But first, let's meet the two politicians who are here for today's show. Matthew Barber is the Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner for the Thames Valley, and Satvir Kaur is the Labour MP for Southampton Test and a Minister in the Cabinet Office. Thank you very much, both of you, for coming along. Well, the cost of domestic heating oil has been in the news this week thanks to massive price spikes caused by the conflict in the Middle East. The Competitions and Markets Authority says it's going to look carefully at suppliers, and the Chancellor says she'll get tough on price gouging, but none of that will immediately help price rises. So I guess my first question to both of you is, and I'll start with you, Satvir Kaur, should the government be doing more? And if so, what should they be doing?
OK, well, firstly, when it comes to the Middle East conflict, it's definitely filling up my inbox. I think it's understandable that people and businesses are concerned about the impact it's going to have. I mean, first and foremost, unanimously, people are very supportive of the Prime Minister's stance in not being dragged into this war despite pressure from opposition parties like Reform and the Conservatives. When it comes to the impact, we still don't know the full extent of what that impact's going to be. So the monitoring is happening at the moment. So while we don't know that, what we do know is that fuel duty is still frozen, and there's a review as to whether it rises later on. Energy prices will still be coming down next month. And because this government has stabilised and made the economy stronger, when it comes to shocks like this, we're in a better position to mitigate against them. I think longer term, what families desperately need is actually energy security and homegrown renewables, so that when international shocks like this happen, we're better protected, and that's why the government's investing in that.
OK, so monitoring. Satvir Kaur says that the government's monitoring what's happening, but with heating oil, we're actually seeing it happen right now. Do you think the government's doing enough now?
Well, I think that's the reality. Whatever people feel about what's going on in the Middle East, and we should all rightly be concerned about that, the reality is hitting home to people's pockets today, and it will continue to get worse over the coming weeks. We've got to look at what the tax burden is on people's fuel, whether that's people's heating fuel, whether that's the fuel that you put in your car. There is a significant burden. You know, for every litre that you put in your car, about half of that is going to the exchequer. And you see similar things about the heating fuel. The costs of our domestic energy are huge. It's going to hit other areas of the public sector. If you take Thames Valley Police, for example, our energy bill, just in the public sector, is about £4 or £5 million each year for gas and electricity, another £3 or £4 million for vehicle fuel. Those rises that we know are coming, we know we've got this potentially 5p increase in fuel duty coming later this year. With the VAT, that's 6p on every litre of fuel that we put in our vehicles. That's going to have a massive impact on people, and that is something that the government can do something about now to avoid for the future.
So you must be having serious conversations in government about what you are going to do, especially once that freeze is lifted.
Well, exactly. And at the moment, nobody knows the full extent of it. So it's right that we monitor the situation, because at the moment, fuel duty is frozen, and it will be frozen until September, and that review will be ongoing. And it's also why the Chancellor and the Energy Secretary has been meeting with fuel companies and energy companies to ensure that everything is being done to ensure that prices remain low.
But I think the problem is the Chancellor isn't meeting with those fuel companies because they're refusing to meet with her because
I think you'll find they have already met in Downing Street. Those conversations, I don't know what you've been told, but I definitely know those
my
conversations.
understanding is that they were unsure about sitting down and meeting with her.
Sadly, you're mistaken.
And the government talks about the desire to stop people profiting from this, and of course we all want to see that, but it's the Treasury that will start raking it in. The majority of that is going to go in taxation. We are scheduled to have that price rise in September. Saying it's going to be kept under review, it's not just about what's happening in the Middle East. We know that that's going to happen. The government can scrap that now if they want to, but that's going to be another 6 pence on every litre of fuel coming in September unless action is taken.
So I think this is something we're going to be talking about a lot over the next few weeks and months. So thank you very much, both of you, for your contributions there. Now, we all know the problems of trying to find an NHS dentist. It feels like it's been with us for decades. But new research out this month shows just how many of us are having to pay to go private if we want to get treatment. Almost a third of us now use private dentists, according to Healthwatch England, the body which represents patients. It's expressed particular concern that the number of people who say they're struggling financially that have paid for private dental care has almost doubled. This week, the BBC learned that dentists in England returned more than £900 million over the last 2 years for NHS care that they didn't fulfil. Findings which may explain why, despite record sums being set aside for NHS dentistry, many patients are struggling to get an appointment.
I'd waited a long time and it was taking too long to get it sorted, and then I was getting in pain, so I needed to get it sorted myself.
And how much does it cost you to go private?
Crikey. Last time it was about £4,000 for teeth removal and fillings and a couple of false teeth.
I've been lucky. I've been with the same dentist for many, many years, but I don't think he takes NHS anymore. But I think because I've been with them for so many years, or he keeps the people that have been there so many years, I'm fine.
Have you ever struggled to get an appointment with a dentist, an NHS dentist?
Yes, yeah. I had to pay privately for a while, and then when they had an NHS opening, I could switch over.
So how long did it take you? How long were you looking for an appointment?
It's about 2 years. It was quite a long time.
Now, I probably should have warned you about the number of close-ups of people's mouths there. I hope that didn't put you off your Sunday brunch. Now, joining me now is Siobhan McCurrock, who's the Area Director for Healthwatch Hampshire and Portsmouth. Siobhan, thank you for joining us. Why are so many people being forced to go private?
There's a difficulty in demand and supply being in equal measure. So there are lots of people with problems that they haven't been able to have addressed in the previous 2 or 3 years. Those are now becoming urgent dental problems, and they are struggling to find access to NHS dentists because within that period, so many of the dental surgeries have decided to have more practices offering private dental appointments rather than NHS dental appointments.
Yet the money is there. Dentists are being given money from the NHS. Yes, as we heard in my report there, they're giving millions, hundreds of millions of pounds back to the NHS because they can't fulfil that dental treatment, that NHS care. That seems crazy to our viewers. Why is that happening?
So what we think is happening, and when we speak to the commissioners for dental services across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, they say that they are offering these contracts, but the dental practices are not wishing to take up the opportunities as much as they would like, because the rates of payments for each activity for either a checkup or the long-going treatment care for a larger piece of work for dental care is not meeting their costs that they have when they are providing this dental equipment and the staff to provide the care. So with the NHS contracts, unfortunately, those costs cannot be met. So the dentists are forced to undertake private treatment in order to make their costs make the balance books.
We know the government is taking measures such as introducing 50 new dentists a year in training. We've also seen initiatives like dental vans going around Portsmouth, for example.
Yes.
Is that enough in your view?
Well, those dental vans are offering urgent dental care, either drop-in or through NHS 111, and they have been really, really well received and very well thought of, and the professionals who are offering the services in those vans are very compassionate and supportive of people who have not yet been able to access urgent dental care in their local areas. So what we have been calling for is actually more of those dental vans, because they are in areas of greatest health inequalities and are supporting people to access urgent NHS dental care. I believe now that the contracts for those dental buses are going to be made more mainstream and part of the standard contracts, so that the commissioning opportunities for DentAid, which is the charity that runs these dental buses, can future plan for longer periods of time for their provision.
OK, let me bring in our two guests on the sofa here. So, Satvir Kaur, we're hearing about dental vans, 50 new dentists a year, but we heard in my report people are waiting up to 2 years to get an NHS dentist. Something's going really wrong here.
Absolutely. I think there was like a real dentist crisis under the previous government, which is why in the general election, Labour said that they'd get 700,000 more urgent NHS dental appointments. Not only is it about recruitment and retention, which is the great announcement that happened this week, and kind of the prevention pieces, this dental van that Siobhan was talking about sounds absolutely amazing. It's about reforming those contracts, which is what this government has prioritised. So those reforms will be coming in, and it will ensure that dentist practices have to prioritise NHS urgent cases in order to get that additional funding, and there will be incentives around that as well. So a lot of dentists, and I've spoken to some on the doorstep when I've been out, talk about this dental contract and how it's urgently needed reform, and those reforms are coming.
Matthew, do you think it should be a right to see an NHS dentist in the same way that it's a right to go to the GP surgery and get an appointment?
Well, I think the vans that have been talked about, they're dealing with an acute problem, but not getting to the heart of this, which is that lack of access. Because a lot of the issues that will require someone to get that urgent treatment in a dental van are because the ability to have those regular checkups to maintain good oral health have been lost over a number of years. So I think what's right is that reform of the contract, certainly from dentists that I talk to, the funding is arranged around sort of dental activity, and most dentists would argue the payment that they get as dentists for each of those units of dental activity don't even match their costs to actually deal with them. So most of those dentists would say they're operating at a loss for those. So it's not just about the supply. There are actually plenty of dentists out there. It's about fashioning a contract that makes it desirable for those dentists to do that NHS work. They have to be able to make money out of it. At the moment, most dentists would say they're making a loss by taking on NHS work.
Just very briefly, Siobhan, what do you make of what you've heard?
So, yes, there is a problem with the availability of dentists offering NHS appointments. For example, in Portsmouth, there are 32 dental surgeries, but only 7 of them offer NHS appointments. And similarly, in Hampshire, only 15 dental surgeries are offering NHS appointments. Okay. So there is a battle for people trying to access the dental care, but even there, people still will need to pay for treatment unless they are eligible for free NHS dental care, which comes with eligibility for other benefits as well. So what we're calling for is a reform of that dental contract, which the dental community as well, the professionals are also asking for, which will mean that it's a more universally offered service rather than hit and miss provision and support for dental care across Hampshire and Isle of Wight, as well as the rest of the country.
Siobhan, thank you very much for joining us. Now it's time for one of our viewers to put what gets their goat in front of our two politicians. I'll let you know at the end how you can get in touch. This week it's Sue Holmes from Salisbury.
So what really gets my goat is the fact they're changing the parking charges in this car park, the one that's closest to church. Instead of paying £1.90 to stay all day on a Sunday, they're going to make us pay £5.90 for just 3 hours, and we won't be able to come back for 4 hours. That means that people that come to our early morning communion service at 8 o'clock won't be able to stay all day and won't be able to stay for the normal morning worship. Seems to me to be really unfair that people are going to be penalised in this way for wanting to come to pray. It's an issue for all the car parks in Salisbury, and it is a cost of living thing. We don't mind paying the cost of living increase. It's that 211% increase that it's going to be on parking charges and not being able to stay so that we can have that community and social life that we need. I'd like them to either think about a more modest increase, not the 211%, or even better, perhaps not making it for just 3 hours, but making it for all day. Really just have another think. Think about, are there other ways that you could make your budgets balance?
Well, Wiltshire Council says that the proposals are part of a financially sustainable parking plan. And if you've got something that you want to get off your chest, do drop us a line at politics.south@bbc.co.uk and we'll try and get that to air. Now, Satvir and Matthew, you both come from a council background. Matthew, this is just a way of raising revenue, isn't it?
It is, sadly. And when I was leader of a council back in Oxfordshire, we introduced 2 hours free parking, recognising the benefits that brings to the local economy to get people in. It feels like far too often councils' transport policies, whether that's about parking or roads, we've seen the congestion charge introduced in the city of Oxford, are much more about getting in the way of motorists rather than supporting the local economy. We need to remember that transport policies are there to help people get around their communities. And all too often it seems to be driven by other agendas about getting people into public transport, getting cars out of town centres. These are the places where people live, they work, they socialise. We need to be encouraging people to use our town centres if we want them to thrive.
Briefly, Satvir, you want people to come into, in your case, Southampton city centre?
Of course, and actually Southampton has, compared to neighbouring areas, has one of the lowest car park charges that there are. But councils have been bitterly hurt during the austerity measures, which is why I'm really happy and proud that actually under this government, councils are being properly funded once more.
OK, thank you very much. Still to come on today's Politics South. Young mums without mums of their own, why they can struggle for parenting role models and support. Nearly a decade ago, the then government announced 14 new garden villages intended to provide 48,000 new, more eco-friendly homes. Some of them, like Wellbourne in Hampshire, have already started welcoming their first residents. But as Victoria Walton reports, West Oxfordshire's Saltcross Garden Village isn't quite so advanced.
Oxfordshire has a lot to offer. From world-class universities, excellent transport links, the beautiful rolling countryside and the promise of a new garden village to live in a zero-carbon community. Could this be the ideal place to move for you and your family?
Well, that's the idea at least. But 9 years after the vision was announced for a garden village for West Oxfordshire with the highest environmental standards, it's still very much a muddy field.
Constant legal challenges have taken the plan for Saltcross to the High Court, with the surrounding communities and the District Council backing net zero carbon designs, but landowners seeking much lower environmental targets to protect against changes to the market value. In other words, their profits.
They're under pressure and they felt that the developers who want their profits, which is normally about 20%, and so it will be slightly less for them to have that. But actually they'll sell more houses and people will want to live here. And if your short-term interests are just to build the same old thing, I think you're going to find that people are going to say, we vote with our feet, we're not coming.
Despite the challenges, planning applications are expected to come forward later this year.
Saltcross represents a step change in how we approach new development,
with homes to a similar environmental standard as those drawn up by architectural designer Charlie Luxton in Hook Norton.
There is incredible opportunity for energy, for water, for waste, for transport, for delivery system, for food production. I mean, they have an opportunity to do something quite extraordinary there that can really set the course for the future of this country. And Oxfordshire, in my opinion, should be leading the way in this.
But with the time it's taken to get this far and the area needing to build 18,000 new homes, what's more important, building quickly or building in an environmentally friendly way?
Thank you so much for inviting me around.
That's okay, you're very welcome.
In Hook Norton, residents say a low-carbon approach benefits everyone.
So what appealed to you about this development? Because it's quite different, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the affordability was obviously a huge factor. I'm single, I'm self-employed. Most of the houses in this area were very, very much out of reach for me. But also the houses had some brilliant eco-credentials, and they promised affordable living with much lower bills and a lot of sustainability inbuilt to the project as well. We have electric heaters, so I just put them on as and when I need them. The costs of my bills vary, but I think at its most expensive in high winter, it's about £100. But that is electricity, heating, that's everything included. That's not a separate gas and electric bill, that's everything all in one. But in summer, it's about £50.
And the experiences here suggest building affordable homes quickly and to high environmental standards is possible.
There's no challenge about speed and sustainability. You need to think a bit harder, but that doesn't mean it has to take a lot longer. The fundamental principles behind these houses are really simple, right? Thick walls, lots of insulation, triple glazing, no drafts. It might cost a little bit more to build them, but we're only talking 5–10% maximum. But then the running costs of these buildings can be a third, they can be a quarter of what any other house is. So over 30, 40, 60, 100 years, they are so much cheaper than a standard build. That's really where we need to be thinking.
But with ongoing pressure from central government to meet house building targets and developers needing to make a profit, the balance between construction speed and environmental ambitions will be a delicate one to achieve.
This is legacy. It's leaving behind something that will make a significant difference in this country by building this kind of high spec. People want to have good value for money, and this is one of those things.
I think Victoria asked a question in her piece, Matthew. I'll put it to you. What's more important, building quickly or building low or zero carbon homes?
Well, I think actually the problem is both. And the trouble we have as a country is we're not actually even building traditional homes as quickly as we need to. And we failed to do so for a very long time. And I'm not sure that this government have got the magic bullet for that problem either. I think the sort of eco homes that you've seen are very laudable. And I think you see the benefits in terms of the long-term savings that residents can have in terms of energy costs. I think that's great, and most people would be really supportive of that. But actually, the things that often get in the way of delivering some of these new developments is actually about some of the infrastructure costs, the delays through council planning processes, some of the environmental restrictions, and then even when they are delivered, actually making sure that they are fully built out and really delivering for communities as a whole. So all of those amenities that people are promised are actually delivered is much more of a challenge. And if you look around Oxfordshire, it's not just about those eco-towns which are slow to get off the mark. It's actually about a lot of the housing developments that we've seen where estates remain unadopted, where infrastructure hasn't been built on time, whether that's by the local authority or by the housing developer. So yes, speed is important because we do need new homes. But actually, this isn't a problem just of eco-towns. This is a problem about the wider industry, I think.
I mean, clearly, these sorts of homes do save money over time. They're really economically viable over the long term. But governments like yours just don't have time to think long term, do they? You need quicker solutions than that.
I don't think I personally would argue against it being a choice. I think you can have energy efficient homes and homes at speed. I mean, use more modern methods of construction, for example, which I personally am obsessed with. It's good homes. We shouldn't keep building homes like the Egyptians build pyramids brick by brick. These homes, parts of them are built in factories and they're really energy efficient. They can be built really, really quickly. Energy efficient homes means they're not only affordable to buy, but affordable to run, as you you heard, those savings sounded absolutely amazing. I wish I had them myself. But I mean, that's exactly why the government's introduced the Planning and Infrastructure Bill, right, to help address some of the issues that Matthew mentioned, for example. But there's definitely ways that you can make both happen, and both are just so important.
OK, well, I think people who say, want more houses built will be very keen to see what your government does over the next couple of years. Are you putting pressure on your colleagues to make this happen?
Well, as I said, the Planning and Infrastructure Bill only got royal assent about 2 months ago. I'm looking forward to local councils in particular using the powers that has to ensure that we are building more homes, because we are in a housing crisis. We do need more homes. I talk to homelessness charities all the time that say, give us these homes, people desperately need them. So we're determined to build the 1.5 million homes that we said we would build, and we're really, really keen that they're affordable to run as well.
OK. Now, let's take a look at some of the other political stories here in the south. The Navy destroyer HMS Dragon finally left Portsmouth en route to Cyprus after the British military base there was attacked by Iranian drones. There's been criticism of the time it's taken to be deployed, with some questioning the government's preparedness for conflict in the Middle East. A 13-year-old boy whose bike was stolen on his birthday is campaigning for more awareness of crime in his neighbourhood in Reading. Stephen says there's been other break-ins and attempted thefts and has started a petition.
It's made me feel quite anxious about where I live and what the community is. My objective is to collect enough signatures so I can alert the council or the MP.
A mother from Swindon who lost her own mum to cancer while pregnant is calling for more support for mums without a maternal figure. Abby says it's an issue that's largely unrecognised.
It's like feeling really lost all the time, and I just find myself second-guessing everything. Am I doing it right?
And around Mothering Sunday, the charity Motherless Mothers has highlighted the struggle faced by thousands of women and is calling for tailored support. And could dancing be the solution to a bad back? 30 million working days are missed every year in the UK because of back pain, but evidence shows that regular dancing helps people move and helps their back pain improve. Well, that makes me need to limber up. I think we all are here. Now, Thames Valley Police and Crime Commissioner Matthew Barber, why is a 13-year-old doing your dirty work?
Well, I think it's quite inspirational, actually, seeing him go out. Now, from what I understand, you're pretty horrendous. Having your bike stolen on your birthday is pretty low. Now, we've seen some really good improvements in terms of tackling cycle crime across Thames Valley, but I would love to meet Stephen. I'm meeting with Reading Council on Monday. As it happens, I would love to talk about the issues locally. Yeah, unfortunate that the situation is that's driven him to that, but frankly, if more people were that engaged in community safety across Thames Valley, we'd be in a much better place, wouldn't we? I'd love to harness that energy and use it in every community.
Yeah, he really is a superstar. And Satvir, we saw there mothers highlighting the issue of Mother's Day without their own mother. Now, of course, you became a mother last year. This is your first Mothering Sunday. How's it been going back to work as a mother?
Wild. The struggle and the balance is real. I only came back from maternity leave a couple of weeks ago. My beautiful baby, is only 6 months old. So I'm trying to balance it all. I've got huge respect for moms and those with caring responsibilities. And I want to wish everyone, because you totally deserve it, an amazing Mother's Day.
Yeah, I know you're going to see your mother as well on Mothering Sunday.
We'll all be going out for lunch as a family to make the most of our mothers.
OK, enjoy it, both of you. Have a really, really enjoyable day. Now, that is it for us this week. Thank you very much to my guests, Matthew Barber and Satvir Kaur. Now, next week, we're talking about cooking, in particular, the campaign to get cookery lessons in primary schools. It's got backing from celebrity chefs like Prue Leith and Stanley Tucci. But do schools even have those sorts of cooking facilities anymore? We'll find out. Have a very good rest of your Sunday and do say hello to your mother if you're going out for lunch. Goodbye.